leadership training, and I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. I know I mentioned that before, but it's been a great day. It really has, and it's been nice to be able to come into your living room or over your mobile device or whatever that might be, so that we could share this information. Listen, we're talking about overcoming objections. Overcoming objections is one of those things that once you understand the process, once you kind of have it bullet plated out, it's not that tough. But it also helps to actually understand what an objection is. See, an objection is nothing more than a defense mechanism. That's it. That's it. It's a way for somebody to say, whoa, hold on there, man. I just want to slow the process down a little bit. So it's a natural defense mechanism that people have. It doesn't that. Now, why do people object? Again, that defense mechanism, that they have, it's because they're feeling rushed or pushed. And we just need to kind of ease them along into the process. That's all it is. The question you have to ask is, do you react when confronted with an objection? If so, what are you scared of? See, it was Richard Stock who gave you this great advice. He said, listen, go write down every single question you know you're going to get asked or that you have been asked and find an answer for it, right? Find a way to overcome any objection or challenge they've got. And then you're bulletproof. And what I've found in this, in sales across the board, is that whatever you're marketing, whatever you're selling, you're only going to get hit with about 6 to 7 different questions. Those 6 to 7 different questions are going to come at you over and over and over and over and over again. So learn them. Learn how to respond to them and overcome any issues that might be there, and then you're pretty much bulletproof. Now, I just asked you if you react to an objection, responding to an objection. If you respond, how did you prepare, right? What did you do? How do you make your response automatic? And I'm here to tell you that's all about just drill, practice, and rehearse. You gain the confidence that's needed to advance the sale and advance the prospect as they kind of move along. And confidence, well, that's just the memory of past success, and it's created through successful repetition. It's the reason why we tell you, you need to get in the game, you need to get, out there doing great things. Now, the difference between an objection and a condition, this is a lot of times, this is kind of gets left out of a lot of training. And I don't know why, because it's important for you as the seller to recognize. That's this. Objections can be overcome, conditions cannot, right? I mean, objections can be overcome, conditions cannot. There are certain conditions that people may be dealing with at this time in their life that prevent them from moving ahead. You need to be sensitive to that. I mean, if someone has just learned that they have stage 4 cancer, they're not going to be starting a business with you. They need to be focused on treatment and recovery, right? So we have to weigh that into our discussions. Now, when you define those conditions, well, I've already said that, a valid reason for not moving ahead. Some conditions, I threw some things up there, absolutely zero money. They don't have any money, they don't have any credit, they don't have anybody that loves them, they don't have any resources, they've got bad health, they're underage, they're in prison or committed to a state mental hospital. Those would be conditions that would prevent them from moving ahead, right? Now, people object when they want to go ahead but feel rushed or pushed. So, we understand, as we just talked about, it's their way of slowing down the process. Because they want to slow the process down and they have an objection doesn't mean, you should just stop the process. You move them forward to advance it. So, when overcoming an objection, here's the steps that you need to take into consideration. The steps are, first of all, hear them out. What did Richard do during his entire follow-up? He heard them out. He asked questions, and then he zipped it and listened. He asked another question, and then he listened. He asked another question, and then he listened. I mean, the ratio that was shared today where you ought to be asking questions or talking 30% of the time and listening 70% of the time, I think that's a pretty good ratio. We've always said, the good Lord gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we could speak and listen in that proportion. But I think, when it comes to sales, we're much better off asking questions. When you are asking questions, you are in control. When you are answering questions, you're generally losing control. So, make it happen. Hear them out. The next is feed it back. Did you notice how many times Richard would say, so what I'm hearing you say is this? and he fed it back to them. He stated what they just shared with him to make sure that he had it right. Question the importance of the concern or subdue the objection with a story or an example. I use life's experience to share my story and the story of others so that I can overcome objections. I'm going to go into that in just a little bit here as we get into Feel, Felt, Found. But you can then answer it as well. So let's say a story is not appropriate. Maybe it really is just more of kind of an odd question / objection. Just answer it. And then make sure that whatever you've done, you've confirmed that you've dealt with it before you move ahead. If you haven't overcome that objection, if you haven't answered that question, if you haven't dealt with it, you can't move ahead. So you've got to make sure that you confirm that, and then you move forward. And always remember to finesse your response so that it lands appropriately, right? It lands easily. Now, we talk about Feel, Felt, Found. Everything I just described to you in that bullet point form really leads us to kind of a simple reframing. If you can't remember all that, remember this. Feel, felt, found. I felt the same way, but let me tell you what I found out. You'll be amazed at how many times you can overcome objections, you can move things, and it's going to provide important feedback that you need that is necessary to closing the sale. So that's why, again, you got to have your listening cap on as you're doing it, to make it happen. Here's some of the things that I use when subduing objections easily. Just different phrases, and you can put whatever end on this you'd like, right? What would it mean to you if? How many times did Richard Stock, during his follow-up, say, what would it mean to you if? What would it mean to you if? I mean, he said that over and over and over and over again. And again, he asked the question, and then he didn't say a word. He let them respond and let them talk. So how do you feel about that? Oh, that's a great question. I mean, especially for individuals like validators and relators. So how do you feel about that? I mean, if you're talking to an intellectual, then you're going to say, what do you think about that, right? That's a great thing about everything that we've got in the Drive sales strategy that Woody's made available to us, because we get to understand how people think and feel more appropriately so that we can answer their questions. Is that okay? There's nothing wrong with just saying, hey, is that okay? Or is that okay with you, right? How's that working for you? See, I love that question. When individuals start to describe maybe some of the painful moments in their life, it's easy for me to say, so how's that working for you? If I didn't have a clear understanding, I'd probably feel the same way. Oh, that's a perfect one. When somebody says, hey, well, what about this? Or this is the way that I think about this. This is the way I feel about this. And I'd say, hey, you know what? Man, I get it. Let me tell you, I know how you feel. I felt the same way. But man, I've realized that if I didn't have a clear understanding, I'd probably feel the same way that you do. How long are you going to let that continue? See, this is a really good one when people start talking about the pain and the problem in their life. Well, how long are you going to let that continue? I mean, that sometimes sets them back on their heels because they're like, oh, you know what? I guess I do have the power to change that. I need to do something differently. Is there a right way and a wrong way to do things? I always love that when somebody hits me with, well, my brother, he tried to be a real estate investor, and he fixed and flipped the house, and he didn't make any money. Well, do you think there's a right way and a wrong way to do things? Why do you feel that way? See, this is a great one, because I want to know what they're thinking and feeling, so just ask them, right? When we talk about objections, you're going to have the same ones surface over and over and over again. See if these ring true. No money. I just don't have the money. Oh, I just don't have the time. You know what, man? This ICM opportunity looks pretty good, but I don't have any sales experience. I'm not a salesman. Is this one of them MLM things? Because I don't know about them MLM things, right? I self-explanatory because started was I didn't have any money either. But boy, when I really found, what this company had to offer, the tremendous value that they were bringing to the table, the great things I could learn and the things that I could do, I realized that I needed to find the money and, make it happen. But I love this last one here that I just pointed to. Not interested. I'm just not interested. You know what I say to individuals who say I'm not interested? I say, well, you know what? I'm just kind of curious. Help me, so that I can, do what I do better and serve people in a larger capacity. I know that you came to this presentation or that you came to this meeting or you met with me because you're looking for something. What is it about this opportunity, or what is it that you're looking for that you did not see today in our meeting? What you're going to find is they're going to be able to reveal to you more of what they're after. And in that moment, a lot of times you can go, oh my goodness, if that's what you're after, that's exactly what we've got. I'm so sorry that we didn't touch on that. Let me show you this, right? And it leads you back to demonstration and moving them forward in the sales process. How about this one? Hey, why would I buy your education when I can learn all I need to know online? Well, you know what? Man, I know how you feel. I felt very much the same way. Let me tell you what I found out. Or you can start to go through things and you can say, so let me get this straight. I mean, so your question or concern is that everything that we have to offer is readily available on the internet and there's no need for you to purchase that. That's kind of what I'm hearing. Is that your belief? Because then it gives you a chance to say, really? I've never found it. I don't know anybody else that's ever found it. Found this level of education. 67 different full-day classes. 32, instructors. We've got, oh my goodness, we've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of education. It's all packaged up. It's all put together with our resource library of all of our real estate contracts, with all of our classes and our segments, with our assessments and our workbooks, with all of the amazing support that you receive in this company, both from our coach, Gavin McCaleb, to individual community members in the place where you live. If this exists for free online, I want to know about it. Where can I find that? Obviously you can't, but you're going to help them to come to that same conclusion. All right? Hey, it's just a bad time right now. Well, I know how you feel. I felt for you to do is objection prevention. That's when you're really good at asking. You model top performers. Listen to some of your PAC members, as they're doing trainings, or as you listen in to hear how they deal with objections. I always loved this. When I first got started in the business, because I was so green and I didn't even sometimes know what questions to ask of my leaders and the trainers, I found myself just hovering. I would hover. I know it was a little bit irritating to some, but I hovered. And I would just hover on the outside of conversations where I could hear different successful leaders talking to their prospects or talking to their people's guests. And I would just listen. And boy, I learned a lot. Because all I did is I just kind of, tuned in to what was going on there. I heard how they answered questions. I heard how they overcame objections. I heard how they would continue to move people along and advance them, in the sales process. And as I did, I was able to parrot what I heard and then repeat it and duplicate that for myself with my own guests. Modeling top performers is critical to your success. Let's talk a little bit about that. Top performers use questions to discover what a prospect is thinking and feeling. They use this information to adjust their presentation and prevent objections. If somebody tells you that they've just got an outrageous, load of things that they're dealing with and they just don't have any time, that's an objection they're going to come up with. So let's figure out a way to deal with it during our presentation. If individuals have told you that, money's tight, then let's deal with it during the presentation. If individuals have said, I've always wanted to learn more about real estate. I watched the fix and flip shows on A&E and on the home shopping, I was going to say the home shopping network. Anyway, but each of the different programs out there, then you know that they're thinking, oh, I'm learning everything I need to learn from these guys, right? So then deal with it. It's all about objection prevention in that case. And you use that information to adjust their responses and prevent objections as someone's doing this. Top performers use this information to create compelling reasons for a prospect to move ahead. And top performers use this information to help the prospect sell themselves on the benefits of getting involved. Ask questions, they will sell themselves on the benefits of getting involved. You don't have to sell them on it. It comes back to this. Whose signal is stronger? Whose signal is stronger? I mean, isn't that, pretty much who wins any debate, who wins any negotiation, who wins any conversation? I believe that if you're not selling, you're being sold. So you have to ask, whose signal is stronger? Is your belief and conviction in Renatus, in our opportunity, in our education, solid enough that it can overcome any skepticism, any doubt, any fear? Or are you sitting there when they're giving their objections and you're going, oh man, I know what you're thinking. I kind of was feeling the same way about things as well. Whose signal is stronger? Because if you're not selling them, they are selling you. By the way, if you've got kids, you know that principle. If you're not selling them, they're selling you. So whose signal is stronger? And if you don't sell them, then we can't serve them. That's what it really comes down to. If you don't sell them, we can't serve them. We can't affect a change in their life in a positive way. It's so fun to see and to talk with our students across the nation. Because, I'll get thank you cards and thank you letters on occasion, man, that I absolutely love, where people are just outlining their story. Sometimes they'll even share a picture with me, and I'm like, wow, that's their family, and that's how they've been blessed because of Renatus. I'll have folks that, will pull me aside at different events or send me an email and share their story as well. That's the reward I get for, building this company. Oh, now there are other awards, trust me, but that's probably the one that means the most to me, especially as a validator, right? If you don't sell them, we can't serve them. So let's dispel a few of the myths about sales, because the next 29 minutes, I'm going to be talking about how you can go out there and just crush it in sales by understanding the process of sales. Now, if you're sitting there and you're still going, I hate sales and I hate salesmen, well, then you need to spend some time with my lovely wife, because she'll agree with you. Over the years, every time we walked into a furniture store, every time we ended up on a car lot, every time we, would go anywhere where we had to deal with salesmen, she absolutely detested the thing. And I would have to get out of that experience and say, honey, you realized you married one. Please, man, just be a little more patient. So let's dispel the myths of sales. First of all, anybody who thinks that sales means that you're going to be manipulative, you're going to be forceful, you're going to, be an arm twister, that is not Renatus, and that is not the sales I'm talking about. It's just flat not. What we do is we simply ask questions, provide information in a way that helps us to know our prospects so that we can know if our products and our services are going to benefit them and change their life for the good. If they do, then I truly believe, based on what I know about Renatus, I have an obligation to persuade them to look at us wholly and fully so that they want to be involved, right? But if it's not a good fit for them, I'm not going to move forward. So, we are serving them and selling them into a program that can have the maximum effect. There's a few myths I got to dispel about sales. Whether you're selling small or large priced items, the process is the same. That's a myth. It's not. Listen, you know what it's like. You meet irritating salespeople, at a store or an auction or trade show or something like that. And sometimes, if all they're selling is under $5, you'll buy the dang thing just to get rid of them, right? But if that was a $10,000 purchase, oh no, you are not going to be persuaded that easily, right? So it is a myth that whether you're selling a small or a large priced item, the process is the same. Here's another myth. If people closed harder and with greater frequency, they'd sell more and earn more. No, they won't. As a matter of fact, generally what they do is they offend people and they push the prospect away. And when a prospect feels as though they're being chased, They will run. Here's another myth. Great salespeople love it when prospects raise objections. No, I'm comfortable with it, but what it generally means is that in my one-on-one presentation, I didn't do a good enough job asking questions so that I got a feel for where they're at, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, so that I could overcome those objections through the process. So great salespeople do not love it when people or prospects raise objections because they want to have overcome most of that. They just realize that there's going to be some lingering, so hey, let's be comfortable dealing with it. Another thing too, tie-down closes create yes momentum and lead to an increase in sales. Not necessarily. And if you don't know what a tie-down close is, I mean, you need to study some of the sales literature of Tom Hopkins. I mean, he really understood all sorts of different tie-down closes that a person could use to kind of move things along. Yes momentum sometimes doesn't lead to a sale, right? Sometimes it just leads to irritation, especially when you've crossed the line between investigation and turned it into interrogation. There are two ways to be fooled. I love this quote. One is to believe what isn't true. The other is to refuse to believe what is true. And there's 4 stages to the sales call. 4 stages. First of all, the preliminaries. Let's talk about the preliminaries for a minute. The preliminaries are these. That's making the right first impression. It's said that you never have a second chance to make a first impression. And people will sum you up. They will sum up what they think and feel about you inside of just a few moments. And then it's up to you to spend all of your time trying to overcome that first impression. So you got to make sure that it's the right one. You build rapport and you make a friend. Now, depending on how someone is suited personality-wise, you're going to need to approach them differently when it comes to building rapport. It's a great thing about having the drive system available to us here in Renatus. Woody is a genius. I know that if I'm going to build rapport with someone who is an intellectual, then I'm going to need to be focused more on, my love of systems and tools and processes and things of that nature. If I'm going to build rapport with someone who is a relator, I'm going to talk about community. I'm going to talk about camaraderie. I'm going to talk about family. I'm going to talk about their family. We're going to really bond and relate to those experiences. If I'm going to talk to an executive, I'm going to talk about how, man, I'm all about action, about making things happen. It's about building business, and it's about looking at the numbers and examining the proof and the evidence to suggest that something should be done. What happens in each case is you're going to be able to speak to their drive so that you can build rapport more effectively. And that way it shortens the period of time that it takes to build rapport. You get that? Here's another thing about building rapport. You need to establish yourself as an expert. As you establish yourself as an expert, it also helps to build rapport because they want to do business with you. So you ask questions, you find a connection, and then you take the conversation in that direction. If you walk into an office and they've got a hunting trophy mount or something on the wall, I always like to take the drive cards out, and you take the drive cards and you say, hey, listen, you know what? I want to make sure that I can serve you to the very best of my ability. And I've got a simple little exercise here that if you'll go through this with me, I'm going to show you something amazing, something that you're going to want to use for yourself in business, and something that's going to help me to understand you better. And just lay the cards out and go through the exercise. Which of these words makes you feel important? What makes you feel the most important? And as you lay it all out, they're going to identify their drive. And then as they identify their drive, obviously they love to hunt. Now we'll be able to approach that. If they're a director, I want to talk about the experience of that. I want to talk about what it felt like and all of the different things that they got to enjoy along with that, right? If they're an intellectual, we're going to be talking about, what rifle, what weapon, what they used, along the lines. Now, hunting is one example. Some of you are going, Bob, but they killed that poor little animal. I know. They did it. I didn't. So, but ask questions, find a connection, and go in that direction. But if you can Identify their drive before you do that. Whew, hallelujah, you are on the road to recovery here, right? And then get down to business. Get down to business. Don't spend 20 minutes or a half an hour of their time, chit-chatting. Get down to business. I mean, that's what you're there for. You don't want to waste their time or waste your time. So take the time that's necessary very quickly to establish rapport and move right into the subject of your discussion, right? State who you are, self-promotion. Again, how you can establish yourself as an expert. State why you're there, why you're there. When I had phone calls with individuals, in the very beginning, I used to call my friends up and I'd say, hey man, how you doing? We'd spend 20, 30 minutes just chit-chatting. And then I'd go, hey, well, by the way, the reason for my call. And then by then they were going, oh, great, what are they going to try to sell me, right? What are they going to hit me up on? I learned that it's so much better. Now, if I make a phone call to somebody, I'm on point, right? I mean, it's like, hey, how's you? How's the family? That's fantastic. Listen, have you got a few minutes to talk? Because I got something important I want to ask you. Great. The reason for my call is this. I get that right out of the gate so that we're not wasting each other's time, and they respect that, and I certainly, can get a lot more done in my day. Obtain permission to ask questions. I love this. It's like, hey, would you mind that I ask you a few questions so that I can get to know your situation better and see how I could serve you? Nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, that's what a professional does, so they respect it more. That's the preliminaries. The preliminaries. What's the next stage? The next stage is discovery. That's what it's all about. Discovery. Investigation, not interrogation. Let me impress that upon you. Investigation, not interrogation. You're going to ask questions to get to know their situation or circumstances. You're going to ask questions to understand and identify their needs. You're going to ask questions to understand whether these are implied needs or they are explicit needs, right? Implied versus explicit. We'll talk about that in just a little bit as well. You're going to ask questions to find their pain, their problem, or their dissatisfaction. Because if they haven't got pain, a problem, or dissatisfaction, they're generally not going to buy what you're selling. Unless, of course, it's just they're a director and they want a new razor. So, there's that side of it. You want to know how, or I should say you ask questions to enlarge their pain, their problem, or dissatisfaction. And enlarging their pain requires a rational basis, even if they're motivated by emotion. Folks may buy on emotion, but they're going to justify with logic. So questions. This is the discovery phase, right? Let's talk about how needs develop. How needs develop. This is what happens in the process. They go, hey, you know what? I like my job, but man, my new boss, I don't know about that. I feel unappreciated at work. You see how this need is starting to grow? This need for change is starting to develop. I feel unappreciated at work, right? Probably a validator. I hate my job. Well, obviously a validator because that really drove them to a whole different place, right? I hate my job. The next might be this. I want a new career now. How needs develop over time. That's the reason why there's a cycle to life and you just never know. A no today doesn't mean a no forever, just means not now. Because that's how it progresses. Let's talk about these in terms of implied needs versus explicit needs. Implied needs. The definition of implied needs is this. Involved, indicated, or suggested without being directly or explicitly stated. Tactically understood, and implied rebuke, and implied compliment. Implied, I like my job, but my boss, I feel unappreciated at work. I really don't like my job, man. I hate my job. Whatever it is, those are implied needs. It's like, well, you need a change. An explicit need is this. Fully and clearly expressed or demonstrated, leaving nothing merely implied, unequivocal. I want a new career now. That's an explicit need that's been demonstrated and spoken. So as we talk about implied needs and explicit needs, just keep that in mind. We've gone through preliminary phase. We've talked about the discovery phase of a sales call. Let's talk about demonstration. See, what Richard did during his role-playing situation with Umair and Yaz Hawk is he demonstrated the Helios learning management system platform. He demonstrated how they're going to access our education. He demonstrated how this education and this information can help solve their problem. After he went through preliminaries and discovery. Only after discovery Did he get into demonstration? So let's talk a little bit about that. Showing how you can help. That's in the demonstration. Storytelling is a big part of it, right? Demonstration, facts tell, stories sell. So that's why I believe that testimonials play such an important role in the sales process here. Use them and use them often. You're really demonstrating what our education has done for other people, which helps them to know, what the possibilities are for themselves. So you demonstrate how you can help. You demonstrate through storytelling how this education is helping others. You demonstrate through your own story as well. And you demonstrate through the Renata story. So you've got your own story, the Renata story, and other people's stories. Storytelling is critically important. That's why you need to package your story in such a way that says, here's where I was, here's the challenges I was dealing with, here's what I was looking for, and here's what I found with Renatus and how it's changed my life. I love how Michael Huggins said it. Your mess becomes your message. Your mess becomes your message. Talk about problem solution, right? I mean, that's just it. And then, as you're able to do that, you want to be able to release their pain with a reward or solution. See, that's what we do when we're demonstrating how our education works and why there's so much value and how it's benefited others. We're actually giving them hope and releasing the pain that they have been feeling. And when they feel that solution and that lessening of pain, they're now going, man, that's what I'm after. That's the hope that I'm looking for. And my darn clicker just went out on me. So, can you advance the thing? And I'll just do this. Christian's over here on the headset working with the guys. I'm just going to go. It didn't work that time. Let me try it again. And it didn't work that time either. Hey, it worked that time. Let's see if it freed it up for this too. What do you know? Got to work it again. I've got miracle workers right here in the Renata studio. These guys are incredible. They're not on camera right now, but they're behind the scenes making it all possible. This is Movie Magic 101. All right, so you got to remember that whenever you offer a solution, though, the prospect's problem stops growing. Now, I mentioned that because, as we're talking about it, we talked earlier, about what happens during the discovery phase and how we're going to, kind of lead into this demonstration. You want to ask questions so that you can get to what is the real pain? What is the real problem? What is the real challenge? As you find that pain point or that challenge in their life, all you need to do is just ask a few more questions about it. That's how you enlarge the pain. And then you've got to realize you don't want to take it too far or they just get depressed and you do too and it becomes a negative situation. You just got to expand it enough that by offering a solution they go, I can breathe again. Let's do that. But you've got to remember that whenever you do offer a solution, the prospect's problem stops growing. So there's kind of a delicate balance there. You want to be able to make sure that it's self-evident that, I really have to do something different in my life. Before you offer a solution, because you might not have been able to build enough value for it if you do it too early. So, demonstration. You got to make sure that you're checking that key concerns are covered. Again, question-based selling. Are they clear on what we offer? Are they truly clear on what we offer? Did you demonstrate it effectively? That's value versus price. Do they understand what makes us different, so uniquely different from all the different competitors that we have out there? Do they see us as a solution to the rest? As if you ask them, hey, are there any other questions that you have that we haven't addressed? How about this one? Do they have concerns that have not been handled? Now, how are you going to know about that? You're going to ask them a question. You're going to say, hey, do you have any concerns that haven't been handled? Anything you're thinking about that we need to discuss? Right? Because if so, pushing the sale to a close is only going to irritate and antagonize your prospect. That's just the way that it is. So when you're in the demonstration phase, again, you want to be able to demonstrate all the benefits, and then you want to be able to summarize the benefits. Rehearse and repeat key points of your discussion. You got to bring them back, Bring them back. Constantly remind them as to the progress we've made. Constantly remind them of the benefits that they can receive. Constantly remind them of the solutions that are offered. Constantly remind them of how this is going to solve their problem and their pain point. Rehearse and repeat key points of the discussion. And then, are they interested? Not interested? Ask them. Find out. Let's get clear on what they're after. Get clear on what they're feeling and what they're thinking. Asking questions, qualifying questions, is going to help you to gauge the interest of your prospect. I've even gone so far as to just say, hey, listen, I want to be able to communicate effectively with you, and probably one of the best ways I know is this. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being totally disinterested, 10 being very, very interested, where are you right now? If they're a 5, it's like, okay, man, this is not going the way that I want it to go, right? That's when you might loop around and say, I'm just kind of curious. I mean, a 5, what is it that you're looking for that we have not been able to show you so far? And get them to share that with you. If they're an 8, say, fantastic. That's excellent. I mean, you're a lot like I was, where, I certainly was in that 8 category, excited about the possibilities and the opportunities. What have we got to do? What information can I share with you? What do you still need to know so that we can get that 8 from an 8 to a 10? That's a good question for a prospect, right? So you ask them good discovery questions. If you're going to get a no, don't be afraid of it. Get a no early. You don't want to waste their time, and you don't want to have your time wasted, because time is the most valuable commodity that any of us have. So if you're going to get a no early. Don't waste time on uncommitted people. Just don't do it, man. It's the kiss of death in this business. It really is. We talked about the 4 stages of a sales call, all right? We talked about this. You got the preliminaries. You've got discovery, demonstration. We spent some time on that. Now it's all about obtaining commitment. Obtaining commitment. And in obtaining commitment, what's that going to look like? That's getting them to agree to the next step. Now, the next step might not be to make an advance. An advance is one type of an agreement. So I'm always about advancing, right? That could be, I'm going to advance them to a one-on-one meeting, another one-on-one meeting with myself, or maybe it's a group presentation we're attending and I'm going to advance them to a one-on-one. It could be that I'm advancing them to a Renatus intro, an intensive cash flow game, Super Saturday, follow-up meetings, whatever it might be. I may be advancing them to actually take that step and purchase our education so that they get involved with this. So that's one type of agreement. The next type of agreement is what we call a continuation. A continuation is a delay or postponement of a commitment or decision. I want to advance them. If they're right for our program, then I want to advance them to the next event and to making a decision to get involved. If for whatever reason the timing's not right, then we're going to call that a continuation. And I'm, put them into a nurture campaign so that our automated system continues to remind them that we're here and we got great content and great information for them, so that as they go along that cycle of life that we've been talking about, they might get past climbing the ladder of success over to here where they're ready and looking for a change. When that happens, I want to be in touch with them so that I can get them involved with Renatus as the solution to their problem. And again, I said this a number of times today, but a no today does not mean no forever. It just means not now. So that's why I can say 2 types of agreement. I'm going to get them to agree to the next step. And those 2 types of agreements are either an advance, and I always want to be pushing towards that advance. That is my goal. That is my objective. If I can't get the advance, then a continuation. In other words, I don't slam the door on this prospect. I don't close things down. I keep that door wide open, and I let them know that I'm going to continue to stay in touch, and I want to build on that relationship. All right. There are 2 golden rules. 2 golden rules. Number 1, you want to propose the highest realistic commitment that your prospect is able to give. The highest realistic commitment that your prospect is able to give. That means if they're able to give you, a commitment to purchase the Essentials course, don't try to push them into a combo, right? If that's all they can give. If you know they are stretched to their limit and that's all they can do, don't try to take them too far. because you want to never ever push your prospect beyond achievable or realistic limits. Too much pressure is going to drive your prospect away. They're just going to check out. I mean, when I was out in the field and I built my different, organizations and sold different products for different companies over the years, as a network marketer, I found this one to be true, and did is they got in at the lowest possible level. I didn't care about where they started. I only cared about where they were going to finish. And I knew that it was very much hinged on belief and conviction as much as anything else, right? So for me, it was like the education we have to offer, and they see the results that other community members are achieving, their belief and conviction rises to the point where suddenly there's so much value there, it overcomes the price. And they find the money to advance into a larger package. But if you try to push them or force them or apply pressure to them to do that early on, you're just going to protection program. Where every single time you call, they go into the witness protection program because they just don't want to talk to you anymore. And a lot of times people go, I just don't know what's going on with them. Well, I do. They're saying no. Their silence is their answer. So move on. And then maybe you can loop back around to them later on after things have changed a little bit and they might be open to another opportunity. But don't spend time with uncommitted people, and don't try to push them faster than they can go. When it comes to advancing the sale, first of all, we contact and invite. The next thing is we advance to the meeting, whether that's a one-on-one presentation or that's a group presentation or that's a recorded presentation or a campaign we're getting them into, right? The next thing is we're going to meet with them. We got to get together with the prospect. Then we're going to advance them to a follow-up, right? Advance to the follow-up. Then we're going to have a follow-up meeting. And then we're going to advance to the next meeting or event. And then we're going to have the next meeting or event. And then we're going to advance to purchase, where we're going to ask them the important questions, which is, is there any reason in the world why you wouldn't want to get started today? If money wasn't an object, where would you get started? Which package would you buy? Then we're going to, of course, get them to purchase. And then we're going to advance to the ICM training. That's providing, of course, an ICM and not just a customer. In our business, you'll find this. Advance to the event, advance to a decision, advance really helps to, drive the whole thing. And as they go through that process, here's what you've got to realize, that training starts with onboarding. The very same way that you came into this business is the way you will bring others into this business. If you were brought into this business appropriately, then you're going to be able to carry that forward with your prospects. If you realize that you were brought into this business inappropriately, or I should say, not according to the things we've outlined today, right? Let's just put it this way. If you're in roller stunk, and you realize, man, that they did a terrible job getting you into the business, then you're going to have to unlearn what you have learned so that you can start doing it right and make it happen. Because the same way that someone is brought into this business is how they're going to bring others into this business. That's the best onboarding program that we can possibly offer, is by doing it right from the get-go and making sure that people really have, what they need to move forward. One thing. Woody Woodward, author of Drive. And guess what I got? Last night, sitting on my doorstep. I got the second Drive sales book in existence right here from Woody Woodward. Man, I love this guy. The 5 secrets to increase sales in people's lives because of the influence that we'll be able to give him. I've been listening to different sales trainers recently. And I've gone through, man, I've gone through everything from Jeffrey Gitmer to Brian Tracy to Tom Hopkins to Omar Periu. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on of the different sales trainers that I've learned from. I've never heard, I've never had it spelled out like Woody spells it out, is the fact that types, how to speak to them, how to work with them. A YouTube podcast with a couple of very well-known great sales trainers. And I'm sitting here and I'm watching this YouTube video, and it's a debate between the two of them. They're extremely external. I mean, extremely external. These guys, I mean, they really need a checkup from the neck up. In this little podcast debate on which was the better salesperson and what sales techniques they used and what do you do if this happens, what do you do if that happens. And both of them need this book desperately because they're totally and completely missing it. Both of them were very, very external executives. Very external, very high level, you know. Either individuals like me who kind of tripped over it for entertainment purposes, or they're raving fans who are also external executives. They were totally blowing it with everybody else. By the time I got finished with the video, I'm thinking to myself, there's no way in the world I would want either one of these guys to train me on the subject of sales. They're missing it. They may appeal to their own personality class, their own personality type, but the intellectuals are not going to want anything to do with them. The relators are certainly not going to want anything to do with them. The validators are like, these people based on their drive. What Richard Stock did was help you to understand how you can follow up and have a communication with people. What I've tried to do with all of the information that we've shared so far is just build on that idea. The whole concept of ask, don't tell. Ask is another acronym, you know. It's always seek knowledge, always seek knowledge. And Woody outlines that in his book. But he also outlines this, the CPR method of asking questions. You've got the C for consulting or the examination phase. P for personalized. Things that I did not have years ago. It's about situational questions, understanding or clarification questions, pain questions, how you enlarge the pain through questions, and then how you release the pain through questions. We didn't have enough time for that today, so I'm going to have to save that for another time when we can get together. We'll probably do that on one of our upcoming Founders Live Facebook chats with everybody. But I would encourage you to engage in sales training, but remember that it all starts here, man. Whatever knowledge, whatever understanding you can get out there to help you become better at communicating, this is like the Bible right here. And Woody has got, this book in publication right now. I don't know when he's got it. I think he told me that he's at least 6 weeks out before he'll have them in hand, and then they'll be able to put them out over Amazon. But as I'm going through this, I mean, I can just make you a little jealous. This book is amazing. And what it's going to do, coupled together with all of the training that he's giving us, drive for sales, drive for communication, drive for development, is going to be transformational. That's why our Profits course has a baseline that helps any content. I watched one of our little promotional videos that Eric Counts put together on his automation course yesterday. Oh my goodness, man. I'm telling you, anybody who watches that is going to go, I got to learn from this guy. I mean, what Woody's been able to do with the drive courses, do the same thing. What Troy Dunn does with all of his content and helping people how to become a media master. I mean, all you got to do is just watch a little promotional video and people are going to go, I need to learn how to do that. And folks, we've got it all right here in Renatus. What we do makes a difference. What we do works. What we do because it is the journey of a to others. Why what we have is what they need. I've certainly enjoyed the time that we've spent together today, man. It's been a great day of training. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. Remember this. Again, your mantra should be, if it is to be, it's up to me. Don't be reliant on others to drive your business. Don't be. Thanks, everybody. Good day and God bless.